story. Are you from go you blues? I just keep writing you letters, trying to hurry it along. But who knew love was a journey and not a quick for the song? Whoa. It's a sad, sad world. When a boy won't ask a girl what's on her mind, so I keep writing all these letters all the time.
And here we are live with Unfiltered Dealer Talk, and I'm Becky Chernek, and I have Jean Daughtry here with me. We are.
That was a great tune. I love that tune on that intro. That was cool.
Yeah, I think so too. Get that beat going. Let's go ahead and make things happen. And Jean, for those that are new to this channel, and we are brand new, frankly, and there's some folks that don't know who you are. They may know who I am, but they may not know who you are. If you wouldn't mind, share your brief bio with us.
Okay, so I'm Becky in the buy here, pay here business, kind of sort of. I've been training, I built dealerships from the ground up for people and ran them for a long time, buy here, pay here stores in 3 different states. And so I've been involved in the business for a long time. Since I did that 8 or 9 years, I've been consulting and training and working with software companies and creating processes and setting up shops for buy here, pay here dealers and helping with collection training for buy here, pay here dealers. And I just travel all around. I'm in Oklahoma today. I live in Texas. I was in South Carolina the other day. So I'm going around the country helping dealers improve their operations and doing collections and doing service. So different than what Becky does. But then again, we found there's a lot of similarity between us and what we're doing and what we're talking to people about.
Well, we have Mr. Larry Feldman. He's on and he wanted to say hi. And thank you so much, Larry. Larry is super cool. Now, Larry Feldman is the sales guru. I mean, to tell you, he is traveling all throughout the USA. And then you can also find him in Canada. And I got to tell you, he's got a terrific personality and he knows his stuff. So thank you again, Larry, for being on today as we talk through what's going on with subprime. Now, Jean, thank you. But I got to tell you, I've been, as Jean mentioned, in the automotive retail space for many years, over 30 years, and providing the very best in finance and insurance training. For the most part, our franchise dealers, from the time that customer touches down on the dealership website, working with sales folks in that workflow, negotiation, as well as the desk. And we all know that the desk is where it cranks, right? That's where they, what do they say? It all comes together. This is where it all comes together. And they are the hub of the dealership. It aligns with our salespeople, as well as what goes on in that F&I office. And of course, working with your F&I folks to do presentation and to boost performance in that department as well. Okay, so here we are. We're going live on Facebook. We're going live on LinkedIn, X, and YouTube. So if you love what we're talking about, I hope that you do. Please share, share, and share. And so as I was we're talking about is subprime. Let's hit it. Let's talk about that subprime, Jean.
Yeah, that's the thing is that what we've been talking about, me and Becky, and is the car dealers that have bad credit customers coming in. And guess what? It's all of them. I was just in South Carolina at a franchise operation that does buy here, pay here from their dealerships because they wanted to handle those customers years ago. They've been doing it for many years, and they had 8 or 9 franchise dealerships that have multiple partners. And in those dealerships, there are buy here, pay here stores that are in the back basically, but the same sales force is dealing with both customers. They just have a good process for that. And, like you're talking about subprime, there's dealers that have subprime, second chance financing that they run through their regular sales force and their finance department. And so what I find is the sales department is retail at the franchise store. They get a customer, they put them through the walk around, meet and greet, walk around, qualifying, trying to get them, sell them a car. We sell them a car, we bring them in, we get a credit app, we find out they have horrible credit. And so then what is the attitude of that the dealership and the finance guy to deal with that customer? And now we're hammering that deal down to where it's nothing. Nobody makes any money to just get it sold through one of the, CAC or Westlake or whoever they're using. Where if they took a different tact, like we were talking, the salesman understands what to do. The dealership has got a program for helping those folks, and we turn the deal out on the parking lot. Who are we talking to? Are they here for us to help them with financing? And then we can take that customer inside and get them qualified, and then go sell them a car that we can make money, and we can get it hooked up on financing, and everybody's much happier with it that way. So that's what we're talking about doing. And so these stores that are hybrid, they have trained the salespeople, the sales manager, the desk where everything's turning, like Becky is saying, understands that we might get a full retail 800 Beacon customer, or we might get a 500 or a 450. And we know that we're handling them in either direction to make the most profit, do the right thing by the customer, make the most profit, make it a good experience for either customer. It's go on a tangent, but in Buy Here, Pay Here, we talk about all the customers that are out there disgruntled because they got treated like crap at the new car store, got ran off the lot at the new car store, and we are waiting for them with open arms to come see us. And if the new car store just knew they were coming and had a process.
Can I somewhat break this down a little bit
Come on.
and for everyone? So basically, I think what Gene is trying to say, like when we talked about, what I'm hearing, when we talked earlier, we talked about that it's interesting. In the new car franchise stores, what is that process to identify that customer earlier on as it pertains to their budget and or credit criteria? What are we using? And are we simply landing a customer on any car? Any car will do, and then we'll figure it all out when the customer gets their way into the dealership. And wouldn't you know it, we find out, at least this is my experience time and time again, that we end up realizing at that point, after 3 hours, we're on the wrong car. Now imagine that salesperson, if you would, for just a moment, that has worked this customer for 3 hours and test drive these cars only to be found out by the desk, can't you get yourself a real customer? And then either they try to do everything they can to put a deal together, but wouldn't you know it, it's like pushing a round peg into a square peg into a round hole. I knew I'd get that right. And it's unreal how brutal that becomes, because nobody wins. The customer never wins. The payment's too high, and or either F&I, because we're minimizing the profitability. Sales is limiting the profitability on that deal. So what ends up happening? Sales folks figure it out real quick and do what?
Broom them, or
they do. It's like. And here's the thing, Gene, I've heard from general managers, I've heard from the desk managers, this isn't going on. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Of course it's going on. Why would anyone, they would realize in a heartbeat second, I've just wasted 3 hours of my time putting the customer on the wrong car. We don't even make, I got to send the customer walking, and or it's nothing but a major flipping headache. And we never have our paperwork right. And chances are the deal's going to sit on that CIT list, and I'm going to have to drag customer back and forth into the dealership to go ahead and try to put this deal together so I can get paid and the deal can get funded. What a pain in the butt. So the very minute that customer says, hey, I've got some not the best credit, salesperson goes, I tell you what, you might want to check that dealership down the street. Let me go get myself a real customer.
Yep. And that's the thing we were talking on our end down here at Buy Here, Pay Here. I just was finishing a sales manager meeting and all that down here. And we just put into the plans about how to receive those customers and pay a nice big bird dog to the salespeople and how to go develop those bird dogs in the industry because it's going on so much. And so, and I've been doing this since the 90s. And that's what we did at every dealership that I put together and that I go in and train, and all that is we work on how to create bird dogs and catch all that business that they are not doing at the other store. You know, the new car stores will get them in and they can't put them into the Ford F-150 they want. So they'll try to move them into a Ranger or get them approved in a Ranger. And the customer needs a full-size truck. Out he goes. And they spent hours. And they come down to us going, man, they hated, they didn't like us. They treated us bad, blah, blah, blah. They kept us there for hours. And, 30 minutes, we make a car deal out of it, and we make nice, profits on
You do a good job doing it. And everybody wins. Customers winning. They get the car that they want with the payment that they want. Dealership wins because they know they can take that customer and down the road 2 or 3 years later, they're back buying another car.
And it's service business, it's body shop business, it's oil change business, all of it, referral business, everything is happening if you make that guy happy and get him what he needs to have. And like I said, I was just at that big franchise group in the Daughtry, and they are doing it with the same salespeople. So and I did this with a big dealership group in Dallas, and I cut my teeth at another place in the Dallas market that wasn't, but still, it can definitely be done as a hybrid, and those customers are coming in, and that's the first, what's the first step in the AA program? Admitting you got the problem. They're coming. You got to deal with them.
So, it reminds me, and we talked a little bit about this as well when I was working in Memphis. And, so it was like, guys, and this is for some of the stores where they were high volume. And sometimes that can get a dealer in trouble too, because when they're high volume and they're very successful, they tend not to look outside, right, for other opportunities. They tend to stay complacent. Well, in this case, I said, where's your 3 and 4 business? Tier 3 and 4 business. Where is it? Becky, we don't get that. I'm like, yes, you do. There's a problem. What are you talking about? They're right next door to like a super used car center, for crying out loud. And you're going to try to tell me you don't get tier and 3, 4 business. You're across the street from the Platinum Club, for crying out loud. And you're going to try to tell me you're not tier and 3, 4 business. Well, where do you think they go? Well, interesting enough, I know I don't really want to talk names, but I do know there was a super center, used car center as well up the street. And they were paying $500 for every write-up, for every credit application. Don't worry about it.
At least, yeah.
So it does go on. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important that dealers are waking up to this. They're like, Becky, we need more volume. Well, there it is. There it is.
Whether you do buy here, pay here or not, it's the same. You still have to handle the customer the same way. You got to get them in and look at them before you land them on a car, and let's figure out which way we need to go. If it's buy here, pay here, or lease here, pay here, or you're going to put them through one of the other big lenders that are out there that buy that deeper paper. But you have to have somebody that knows what this customer looks like. We ought to be guiding them here. And then you make sure you get all the stuff that you need to get that approval done, know what that is. And the salespeople just have to handle it correctly for you and set you up and get it into you. And that process can be quick. It doesn't have to take days and days, and it can be smooth, and you can sell everyone. And those deals can make just as much money as any of the retail deals that are being done at any of these stores if everything's laid together and put together correctly.
Now, years back, Well, there's dealers I know, new car dealers as well. And I know you are already in a franchise, non-rooftop store, South Carolina, I guess. I don't know. I can't remember, but it does happen. And it's these dealers are savvy. And what they realize is if I can't get it traditional done through a subprime lender, I have other options. Is that right?
That
That
is
fit
right. Yeah.
this parameter. And
Mhm.
I am not going to send that deal walking unless I absolutely have to,
Sure.
unless we're going to find an alternative. We're going to find another option that would be available to put those deals together. I'm not saying a whole heck. See, here's the thing that what's happening that I think, well, that I'm seeing in the industry, Gene, is I see, well, over the past couple of years, especially, Ev and I are treated more like clerks. We used to be managers. It was like we had stick in the game. You know, we were a part of the entire process. We made management decisions, and that meant that we would get involved with that deal and make that deal better. Whatever it took to make that deal better, we would get the deal from the desk and it not necessarily take it by firsthand and just run with it. We would look at the deal. We would see, what do we have here? Is there room? What can we do to make this deal better? And we would meet with the customer earlier on. We would know our inventory and we would be able to, or have the ability to be able to manage the deal, to be able to flip the deal. I can tell you how many times I would flip a deal. I call it the Gil Nickerson deal. And how many deals would come into me and I look from Gil, I'm like, Gil, you can't put a deal together to save your soul. So, you know, I knew the inventory because why? I wanted to maximize the potential on this deal.
Mhm.
And that's what we did. Today, it's not the same. You get the deal from the desk. The desk managers, some desk managers understand their lenders and know how they buy. But let's face it, many of them don't. And they shotgun the deal until they can get
Right.
their best call. And if they don't get their best call, out goes the customer.
Right. And they take a few hours sometimes to do that. And I'm not in the new car stores as much as you are, so I don't know what we used to do versus what we do today. But it is, the desk should know who the salesman has, but the salesman needs to be trained on who they have and change the conversation out front when they get the customer to make sure that we're going in the right direction. You don't show them Camaros and F-150 trucks that are brand new if they really need to be on a used vehicle, and they don't need a Camaro. But the thing is for the salesperson to recognize and have the ability and the backing of the desk to recognize this guy is going to be subprime and not prime. And so we need to get him in, get a credit app, and let's talk to this person. And then we'll go show them cars they can take delivery of. Everybody's going to make money that way. The standard process makes an unhappy customer and a mini deal for the salesman. And, the finance guy doesn't want to deal with them. And, they're just cramming it together and spending a lot of time on it, trying to get it done because we sold a car. And Gene is sitting down here teaching these buy here, pay here dealers that's what's going on. So let's be set up and help them, and let's get those customers out of there, and we'll treat them different and right, and we'll make good money off of them instead of the person that had them. And so,
I don't think that I don't know if these guys are paying attention to that. I don't think they are. I think this is so important that I will make it a point to repurpose this and get this out there because, franchise dealers, do they understand that, frankly, that's what you market for? I mean, some of these independents say, hey, you know what? Here's the deal. If they're not aggressive, if they don't have their lenders, if they don't know why lose an opportunity if you don't have to? So here's what we'll do. We'll pay you whatever, a fee, if in fact we sell this customer a car. That's happening. That's happening. And these guys are trying to tell me, Becky, my salespeople would never do that. They don't do that. My salespeople don't broom deals. They don't do that. And I say, that's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. And, when I go into a dealership, it is nothing but frustrating when I meet with, and not that that's frustrating, because it's not. I love meeting with dealers. I do. But what frustrates me is when I meet with a GM and I ask the GM, hey, by the way, do you do subprime business? And what's that like? Becky, we don't do any subprime business.
Right.
There's no subprime business here. I go back into the Avenite apartment. I go on the desk, and what do I find? You have subprime business. Yep. Now, whether or not you put deals together, that's another story. But you have subprime business, and they fail to recognize it and or understand their customer base and realize, hey, there's some potential here that we're missing out on, that we keep sending those deals to another dealership. So we have a comment here. Do dealers, and this is to you, Gene, do dealers find it challenging getting deals bought with higher used car prices? That's a good question.
Well, and that question, if in the buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here world, no, because we're making the decision and we're buying, we have to sell the cars that we're stocking, and we are paying those prices. We're doing more recon generally per car, and so we're just financing it and rolling it on out and hoping that they don't wreck it and the insurance isn't going to pay. But with the lenders that are out there, it's still the same game, as far as JD Power or whatever guide they're going by to put the value on the car. And so the higher prices have affected that. But the books came up after COVID, after we got through a certain period. The books came up, and it did kind of get back to being more of the normal flow. You bought the car based on what you could do with the lender. You got to turn them in 45 days, or you got to blow them off the lot or whatever. So you don't have too much of it out there, and you can't get it financed. And so if you got a bad credit customer and you put them on cars that don't work with the lenders that'll do that business, then you're going to have a hard time. You're not going to make any money off of it. And that's what typically happens. The salesman doesn't recognize they have that customer. The desk doesn't care or doesn't recognize it. We're on the wrong car. We give it to finance. Finance tries to get a call back on it. There's a 20% discount to the lender to get the deal done. You can't bump the price. And so you
are you sure? No.
you don't make no money. And so that makes it more difficult on that side. But you might be able to speak to with these independent used car guys that are using banks. Yes, the higher priced cars did have an effect on getting those loans bought, but the books and all the guides kind of caught up with the extra pricing. And so it was more of the normal game. Your buyer's got to know what he can buy for what price, and y'all got to know what you can lend on it. And the lenders stretched out. COVID changed a lot of things, and the lenders stretched out, and we got extra term, and we got 20%, 120% calls, and some of that stuff going on, and to help keep the cars selling. And, and so.
Well, I got to say that, and again, things change all the time, right? I mean, in the past, 3 months with lenders up and down, what terms, right? But I do know a couple several Highline stores actually, and you'd be surprised. A Mercedes dealership, and you would like, are you kidding me? That actually work with customers that may have challenging credit for one reason or another. Their FICO scores are lower for one reason or another, and they require a little bit more tender care and love. They require attention and additional money down, that sort of stuff to make cash is still king in this world. Even back when I was growing up in the business, it was like, Becky, if you want to make it happen, make it with cash. Get that cash down, and anything and everything is possible. These are things that we forgot to ask for during COVID because it wasn't really necessary, right?
No,
Customers were writing on a car, we were writing deals, and next thing you know, they're putting them together. But today, it is different. Lenders, maybe up to 120% if you're lucky, if you're really lucky. I mean, it's 110% today, and loan to value, right? And so, but you got to double check. You got to know your lenders. So, like, you got to know your credit unions. Credit unions do different. They'll buy MSRP. They're not buying necessarily invoice. So that kind of gives you a where to go, especially if you're flipped in the trade. And you have to, you've got to pick up the difference in that loan to value. That is super, super important, and putting those deals together. Absolutely. But again, it's the desk managers really that have to have a better understanding when it comes to lender availability, putting these deals together. If they don't capture or understand that they have credit unions that are able to buy different than invoice, right? Or to MSRP, they're missing the boat. They're missing the boat. And then, of course, understanding, that loan to value, getting the customer on the right card to begin with. And then Andrew says, so what questions would you ask a salesperson during the process to determine there is someone with credit issues? Gene, you want to try that one?
Oh, that's me 100%, because that's what we're dealing with. The hybrid stores that I've gone in and worked with, and I've been doing this since the 90s with hybrid stores. The salesperson has to go out there and, of course, in their way, say, are you here because we can help you with financing? And the customer's generally going to say, no, I have my own financing. I can pay cash, or, something along those lines. And the salesman just goes on and does the regular walk around, let's sell them a car. What do you need? What kind of, but if the customer says, no, I've heard that you can help with bad credit, or you can help with, they don't usually say bad credit, but you can help with financing, or I saw your ad in the paper or on the TV or whatever that said something about helping with any credit level. Soon as they say any kind of words along those lines, you bring those people in the house and bring them in, and let's go find out, sir, what we can do to help you. And then we'll come out and look at cars that we know you can take delivery of today. And thousands and thousands of car deals, that's what we've done. And so it's really down to the salesman to have that ability, or, they got to be comfortable with it. Go out and say, Mr. Buyer, happy you're here. We're glad to see you. Have you happened to come here because we can help you with financing? And they're going to tell you right away. And I've had dealers tell me, "Oh, it's going to piss off these people." And honestly, it doesn't. It does not.
Well, it's a certain way of, you got, like you said, there's certain ways you have to phrase it. There's certain ways you're introducing yourself to the customer, fact finding earlier on to determine what you've got, and that's super, super important. Yeah. The other that I wanted to point out too, like CarMax and some of the others now have an app, which is phenomenal technology, and it provides the customer with the ability to determine some of this information even before they make their way to the dealership. And we have to be aware of it. And also when the time the customer comes on the lot, to determine, based on me, my situation, what I can afford, my credit criteria, this is what the payment would be or about based on the selection of these vehicles. Why don't we do this? I don't understand. CarMax knows how to do it, and they're selling, a bazillion vehicles. They quite get it. Carvana does the same thing. Their call center is amazing. They fact find sooner rather than later. They're not going to get themselves in the dirt at all. They're going to figure this out earlier on rather than later. But you're right. You're so right, Gene. When you talk about how many times the GM says, absolutely not, we're not doing this. We're going to build value on any vehicle that customer likes.
That's it. Buy here, pay here. There's buy here, pay here dealers that do what you're talking about. CarMax does now. guide the customer to the website. We get the information up front. We're able to give them a better, pre-approval. So when they come in, we already know what we need them to have, and we know what cars we're going to guide them to, and make the sale much quicker, faster. COVID had everybody doing these things and making these changes to get these deals done quicker, faster. And you said something about being down in the dirt. We're not in the dirt. We're out here. We're out here helping.
Before you get yourself down in the dirt is where I was going with that. Meaning,
but we're going to work. We're going to work.
Clear it up. I'm not going to get myself in the dirt, because that's what happens when you don't know what you're doing. You get yourself in the dirt.
Yeah, you're making people unhappy, and you're trying to hold on to them. The salesman's got to get some commission. He's going to make a mini. The finance guy's not going to be able to sell no back end product or get any rate. So nobody likes it unless you have a process set up to how to field it, swing it off of the normal program, and have something where we can move them through there, and even have some different vehicles that, in a cooperation with the finance people and the lenders, and everybody understands these cars are more for that kind of business, but they turn into cash cars if you have them on hand too, and they can be done the special financing. And if you add buy here, pay here, or lease here, pay here to your operation, you now have a very good catch-all. And of course, what's going to happen with that, because you're already going to be able to approve it instantly based on what you're looking at in the car, which cars, it doesn't matter. We're not worried about the numbers as much as you are when you're using an outside lender. So the whole thing comes down to the whole operation has to say, yep, we know they're coming, and we're going to do something to help as many of them as possible, and put that program together and train the salespeople. And the desk has got to be happy that they're coming in and know what to do with them. And you can make good money with that, and pick up a different line of business just from the word of mouth that you're able to do that.
Well, I think that that's critical. It's so much about the process, identifying the process, and training our sales associates to be able to identify that customer in the right way, mm-hmm. based on that process. So that way we're consistent with it. And rather than, having to, you're in a real environment, that's going to happen, picking and choosing, what kind of vehicle or what kind of customer they're going to sell. Right.
Right. No, that's it. And we don't want picking and choosing. That's what CarMax, tries to avoid, is to make sure that everyone comes through the front door and everyone walks up and gives them information. And so then they're making an immediate decision, which direction. If you want to go look at cars, we already know things about you to do that. And I'm not saying that's the way necessarily, but we do want the salespeople to ask. If we're going to be able to help these folks in either way, bad credit, good credit, we have to ask. Because if you're going to help people with bad credit, we have to take them on a different tact than you take a good credit customer. And it really is not that big of a step. And I've seen it work over and over and over again, but it's the mindset and the speed of the leader that we're handling them people, and we're not going to let them go down the street to the buy here, pay here guy who's paying a big bird dog to my salespeople, so.
And it's all happening. Let me just say this, what brings to mind, top of mind, is I was working with a Volvo dealer who was the top Volvo dealer in the country. They had, and I'm trying to remember this state, gosh. So they had their own independent stores from that, used car stores. And it was out in the field of nowhere. And I remember and they sold about 300 cars a month, used cars a month. And wow. They understood that customer, that subprime customer, what they were able to do was easy enough, was to identify. And one of the reasons why I like TurboPass, right? To be able to determine ID verification, customer income, take from there, 40% of their income, 35, 40%, 42, get an idea of their income, of the amount finance and estimated credit approval amount, if you want to call it, ask for 20% money down, put two payment options available out, 48, 54, 54, 60, and you're going to get right where you need to get to. You don't have to pull credit. You kind of know where you're at, and I'm telling you, they killed it. 300 units a month. They maximize those deals, and customers left driving a car. I think we've got some comments here real quick. Let's see here. Do you recommend non-commission pay plans for salespeople selling special finance deals?
Well,
Good question.
Yeah, and so I would say that we in buy here, pay here, or the subprime dealers, they generally are driving for down payment. So I would put them on some type of a hybrid pay plan where they get a move bonus for moving a unit, and they get a percentage of the down payment. Some kind of combination there where they can make $300 or $400 on a good deal, a good size deal, and less about the front gross on the car because they can't control it. We got to get the customer, identify the customer, and get him on the right rig so that special financing can sell it and put it through, and we can make good gross or good money off of it. But I prefer in that situation less about gross pay and more about let's get them on a unit, let's have a move bonus or an hourly pay plan, and then give them a good push for the down payment. Work the customer for as much down as you can get. If you got good salespeople and they're driven to make commission, make it a big percentage. In buy here, pay here, I always paid a large percentage of the down, and they got a move bonus or a move payment, and that was what they did. Made about $350 a car on average, and had great salespeople, and they loved the job, so it's not the same pay plan. You can't pay them like new car salespeople or independent used cars, and because it's just a different business, even though it's car business. Hope that answers.
Even though it's a car business, you just have to look. One of the things I've realized about independent versus franchise is that independents are more willing to pivot. They're a lot more flexible. They're willing to do whatever it takes, look into whatever it takes to move cars. That's what they do. Sure. Because they have to grind it out. They don't have necessarily what the franchise stores have. So every deal counts for them. Whatever it takes to put deals on the street and get more customers coming back, they're more willing to be flexible and do what it takes to make that happen. I like to see more franchise stores really open up and have a little bit more flexibility and take a look at their, what's really happening in their dealerships, and are they missing opportunity? And if they are, they need to figure out how to change things to impact those results. But I know, Gene, you have to get back to doing what you do, and I don't want to take more time from your day, but this is always good to have our Tuesday 2 p.m. Conversation on all these different topics. What I'm going to pick your brain about, is the lease buy here, pay here. We're not doing it today, but I certainly would like to get a little bit more information, and I'm sure our dealers and viewers would like to also get some more information on how that whole thing works.
Oh yeah, lease here, pay here is growing, so definitely that's a great thing to discuss. And there's some franchise dealers that are learning about that and taking advantage of it. So,
I work with a lot of new car dealers that had, like I was saying earlier, their buy here, pay here. If we couldn't go ahead, put a deal together on your traditional lenders, we found a way to go ahead and put those deals together. So it's not something unheard of. It's like, but let me ask you this: in the climate that we're in today, does it make good business sense to do it?
To do buy here, pay here, lease here, pay here out of a franchise operation? Absolutely.
Yeah, is it too risky?
No, it's not risk. The risk is the fear of the unknown, which is the collection side of it. But honestly, procedure, process, all takes care of that. You have to accept that you're going to have some losses in our industry, but the cash flow and the possibility is so much greater than the loss potential. It's just got to be set up correctly. That's really the key to everything is good procedure, good process, smart car buying, the right situations, and customer service and reputation and all of the things that make any car dealership work. But you have to have that one component is we're selling, knowing we have to collect the money, and it's really not as scary as it sounds or seems. It's working for millions of dollars for lots of dealers around this country, and it has been for years. So not to be afraid of it at all. It's up and down. Everything's up and down. But if you have your own control, you're selling the cars, you're making the decisions on the loans, you're determining the pricing. You don't have to worry about making a bank happy. It's kind of an open-ended deal. I mean, my operations that I set up and created and kept track of, we had the potential to make between $9,000 and $11,000 on every vehicle that we put out. And so, yep, we had losses on the backside, but that was built into the pricing. So not as risky as it seems.
So would you recommend that dealers partner with other providers out there, or would it be better for them to actually, invest in the buy here, pay here segment?
There's all of the above is available. There are lenders that do lend in the industry. There's lenders that will bulk buy your notes from you. There's assistance for collections that you don't even have to do the collecting yourself if you want to offshore that or outsource that. And there's a lot of support. And it is really about deciding what you want to deal with, what you want to handle. But the ROI is very good, and it is something that I think that all dealers, because you're already in the car business, you already have the trades, you already have the shop, you already have the paint shop, the body shop, and it's car business. So we still got to deal with all that stuff on our end. You just need that extra part where we're going to collect the loans and sell them correctly. And like I've told other people, you probably got property. You could set you up a buy here, pay here off to the side at another facility, the old Pizza Hut you bought on the corner down there, or the gas station or whatever, the little dealership you had, and turn that into your buy here, pay here, call it something completely different, and refer your customers there that can't buy at your big store. There's a lot of ways of doing it, and it is definitely worth the risk, and it always is. It doesn't matter how bad the economy gets. The worse the economy is, the better buy here, pay here is. And the economy's good, we still got customers that are buying and paying. So I wouldn't worry about the word. It's risky, but it's not. It's only risky if you don't set it up right and run it right and keep your eye on it.
Well, you got to keep your eye on it, right? It's just like no different than your warranty company, right? I mean, if you can't keep an eye out on your service department and how they approve claims and that sort of stuff, that's going to put you out. It's right. And it's going to affect that reinsurance company of yours. So it's the same thing. You really have to monitor it, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be a part of it.
We have great reinsurance programs and buy here, pay here as well. And so definitely, and we can talk about managing people in any industry. Your employees are going to go to the level of resistance that you provide to keep them accountable. And so you just got to be the resistance and keep them in line with what you need. And it works really well. So it's a great combination when you have the mind to want to make it work and do it correctly.
Amen. All right. Well, thank you so much again, Gene. And we'll be back next Tuesday at 2 p.m. So bring on those questions. I want to hear what you have to say. And, is there an opportunity here in our franchise stores for more subprime business and or converting that subprime business maybe to a buy here, pay here business? Can we get more incremental business in franchise stores that will help sell us more cars and impact that overall performance? And Gene, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I really appreciate it, guys. And so we'll see you here back next Tuesday at 2 p.m. And God knows where Gene is going to be.
Hey, it's Central Time where I'm at. It's 1 p.m. So yeah. But,
oh, that's right. I forget. You're always Central Time there. So
you can join us and ask questions, and definitely we Becky and I have had great conversations, and so that's what we try to do every time. We're going to talk about the similarities and the differences and how they can all work together. I think it's great discussion.
I think there's some really cool synergies when it comes to your side of the fence and my side of the fence, and how we can take some of that and really make a big difference, or help dealers to make a big difference in opening up your eyes and mind to the idea that new car dealers, wake up. There are subprime deals coming your way. And if you don't have a process put in place, as Gene said, so that way you can identify that customer earlier on, you need to think about what that is. And also think about your lenders and think about that desk. Does the desk manager understand lenders that you have available and how they buy deals? I mean, everyone has to be, in sync, in alignment on this deal. And F&I, you've got to know your lenders too, and you've got to be quick on the draw to get out there, meet with the customer, to review the transaction, do what you can to maximize performance. So anyway, this is cool stuff. I always enjoy. So again, guys, I'll see you next Tuesday at 2.
Absolutely. Y'all come see us.
Or 1. Central Time.
Or 1. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, guys.
I just keep writing you letters, trying to see what you do, trying to figure out your story. Are you funko, you blues? I just keep writing you letters, trying to hurry it along. But who knew love was a journey and not a quick for the song? Whoa.